Welcome to this new little house, because sometimes you have to start a new life and it doesn't feel the same way as when you have all your dreams. Like, just facing reality and starting from scratch is just one of those things you have to do sometimes. So come on in and let me show you. I'll give you a little tour. This is the living area slash dining area slash family room slash living room. And what I love about this house is it's so cozy. And what I want to create here is the feeling of enveloped coziness in the smallness of this house. Now, I also get that, you know, lots of people live in lots of different sized houses. So in reality, this is not the smallest house, but by American standards, this is a pretty small house, being 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. For me, thinking about moving my family into here as a family of 5, 1 bathroom and 2 bedrooms would be really small. Now, could we do it? Absolutely. Is this where I'm moving my family? No. But as I've thought about what we truly need, this takes care of every possible necessity that we have in life. And could I do it? Yeah. Welcome to the master bedroom. Now, before we start this little segment, I've got to show you one quick thing. So come with me. So this is a 2 bedroom, 1 bath house. And here's the bathroom, just to make sure you know exactly what's going on when you see what's about to happen. Let's sit down, we'll have a little chat. You know how you have all these grand plans in life and then it just shockingly doesn't turn out the way you expect, right? So I have an analogy for this. It's like, you know, when you're sick or if you're doing a cleanse, this like happens a lot. I'm doing a cleanse right now actually, and that's what got me thinking about this whole concept of you're just sitting there and you're like, oh, like I gotta fart. So then you're like, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, that was not a fart. I gotta run to the bathroom. Oh, okay. Woo! Got that taken care of. And you're just like, really? How could my body betray me like that when I'm in public? Are you kidding me? But it just happens sometimes, you know? And when it happens, you gotta deal, and you gotta deal quick. Because if you don't run to the bathroom as fast as you can, that is a mess I do not want to clean up later. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't go to the bathroom and clean it up right away, change all your plans, whatever you were doing, you stop, and you've got a new plan, and it's to run to the bathroom. That's the only way to deal with problems like that come up in your life, right? So, as I think about like what I would do, this room is the smallest room, but this would be my room if I were to move into here. I'm gonna put a queen bed here because like a king is just too big. I could go full, but you know, as the queen of my castle, I feel like I should have at least a queen bed, although king is my favorite, and I still sleep on a king bed, even though if the bed's this big, I literally take up this much of the bed space because I sleep on my side and I never cross it. So my bed's really funny. We can do a tour of my bed pretty soon. Actually, we will be, but you'll see like my body imprint is in like a third of the bed, but I don't want to go smaller because you know what they say, go big or go home. Anyway, this would be my bedroom, my little closet, which again, like, could I put all my clothes and my whole life in this closet? The truth is no, like the necessities, right? And I'm going through this mind game right now where I am trying to minimize everything in my life so that I can be more present, so that I can be more fully available to live the reality of my life. So I'm gonna do a full house tour of my current house, why I'm moving out of it, because I always thought my big dream was to live in a big house on the hill, like have just everything I could ever dream of in my house. After doing that for 4 years after my husband died, I realized that what I really want is simplicity. So this house has been a reflection for me on going through the possibility of simplicity. It's a really cool feeling. Also, the not a fart moment that I had with this house is that, you know, my husband and I built a business together, and I was able to maintain a good income and running that business for a couple years after he died. And then the next couple years, which have been the last couple years for me, it's just really shifted in a way that, you know, it's not enough for me to even support my family anymore. It's been really hard, additional that I've had to grieve, because I also know if Grant were here, what has happened to his YouTube channel would not have happened. The truth is, I'm not Grant, and the truth is, I'll never be Grant, and I can't do what he did. As hard as I've tried to maintain what he would have wanted, it just hasn't been the same without him, and there's literally nothing I can do about that. And so my focus now is to figure out, how do I take care of my family as a single mom? Buying real estate is one of the things that I have known. That's actually how Grant and I met, is we bought townhomes next to each other, and we were both gonna get into real estate, and we really connected on that level, feeling like, you know, we both had a lot of the same goals. And then when the YouTube thing came about, we just kind of put all our focus into that and let the real estate go, because, you know, our time was more valuable investing in making our YouTube channel great, which he did. And I love that he did that because it was super passionate for him. And I loved that it was passionate for him. And it was like totally new for me. It was something so different and exciting. And so, you know, I just loved that for him. I loved that for us. And my excitement and passion followed his, and that's where it went. And ever since he passed, I just have not wanted to accept that I have to raise my family on my own, that I have to support my family on my own. I just really wanted to hold on to us doing it together. And so that's what I did. I bought the house that I wanted our family to live in together. And then after 4 years of trying to make that work, hitting against this wall of my fantasy and what reality actually was, I realized that I was not accepting reality because I didn't want to. I didn't want my husband to be dead. I didn't want my children to be raised by a single mom. I didn't want to have to take care of a house myself. And when I bought that house, the dream house that I wanted to be our family house, that was everything, you know, I wanted to have with Grant, I realized that I bought it in a space of thinking, I don't want to accept my husband's gone. I want to buy a house where I can get remarried. And once I get remarried, I will have all my problems solved because I'll have somebody again. I will have somebody to help me take care of this big house. We'll be a complete family again. So it was like these two conflicting ideas of, I don't want my husband to be dead and I don't want to accept it. Also knowing that that was true, but still not accepting it. But then accepting it enough to know that the reality would be, if I want to fix that problem, which by the way, it's unfixable. If I just got remarried, that would fill that hole that was created by his death. And then I could have this happy family now complete again. And what I didn't realize is that that is not going to happen. Also, then I got into the dating world and I was like, oh, I'm definitely not getting remarried. So I kind of, like, that reality just like smacked me in the face really hard, because like the dating pool for what I'm looking for was not a kind place for someone like me who's a widow, who has 4 small children. I still fully believe that one day I will find a partner that will just make my heart sing again the way Grant did. And my other desire for that space is that not only will it be as good as it was with him, but it'll actually be better. And my desire to believe that, and my hope that that's true, gives me the ability to continue moving on and accept reality that I'm a single mom. I'm not going to get remarried. Dating is not a great use of my time because it takes me away from my kids, and I don't have every other weekend off, you know, and weeks out of the summer like other parents do who are divorced. I don't have a partner that takes them. It's like my kids are with me 24/7, and that makes dating extremely difficult because I don't know how to balance that. And I just, like, I haven't figured it out yet. So my hope that I hold on to is that one day things will just fall into place. But the reality that I'm finally accepting is that that's not the reality. And for me to just be able to embrace that and say, I'm gonna downsize, I'm gonna get myself a house that is perfect for me and the boys, not a house that is like, oh, I hope one day, you know, all these things happen and then I'll be happy. That's the fantasy and the non-reality that I've lived in that has actually made my life so much more difficult than it needs to be. And I'm finally this year accepting the reality that that's not the case, that change is not gonna make me happy, that I have to find that now in the situation I'm in with my husband being gone and fully fully accept that I'm a single mom. I have to take care of us financially. I have to take care of my kids emotionally. I don't have a lot of time to go outside of that and have time for myself, and just be okay with that and really dedicate the last few years that I have of my kids growing up to them and spending time with them, and not being in the trauma of loss that I have been in the last 5 years, and wanting so bad for it to be different, and wanting that so bad that I'm not actually even present for my kids. And you know, that's the worst thing that I could do for them, is witness them losing their father, but then not being present for them as their mother in a way that they've lost the mother that they knew as well. And I've come to all these realizations. And so this house is a symbol of me taking on the responsibility of, I will accept my reality, and I will bring into my life what I can handle from now on. And the truth is, I can handle a lot, and I do have the ability to take care of my family and my boys emotionally and financially. It's just that it's taken me some time to accept that and really embrace the reality that that's my responsibility, and step out of the fantasy that I was living in, that everything will be okay if Grant came back, or if I got remarried, or if I had a partner. And so I'm really grateful for this moment as I stand in front of this really tiny closet that I feel like I could never live in, but the reality is I could. Anyway, let's continue the tour. So if I were to live in this house, which would take care of all of my basic needs, this would be my room, mom's room. Like, as the mother and the head of the household, I feel like I'm entitled to my own room, right? What I would do in this room, which I would assume is more intended to be the master bedroom, I'd put a bunk bed here and a bunk bed on this wall, and I'd have 4 boys in one room. Now, my dad was one of 9 kids. There were 6 boys and 3 girls, and they grew up in a 2-bedroom house. So my dad's mom and dad, my grandma and grandpa, they got their own bedroom. The girls got the other bedroom, and the boys just slept in the living room. And, you know, I brought my boys over here and I said, look at this house. And I just bought this house, and they were like, are we going to move in here? And I kind of just played with it a little bit. And I was like, well, this would be your room, and all 4 of you would sleep in here. And they were kind of like, oh my gosh, like, no, Mom, no. Because when I give you the house tour of my personal house, it's big and it's nice and it's very luxurious. And again, I just realized, you know, with where I'm at financially, I can't support a house that big anymore, and that's the reality, and I have to accept that, which means I have to make choices that support my quest to support my family appropriately financially, which includes downsizing, and sometimes that's just something you have to do. So here's the bathroom. This is where you come when you realize it's not a fart, and you clean up yourself and you get right back out there and get at it, you know? And hopefully there's not too much in your pants, because then you'll smell, in which case you should definitely change your underwear if that happens. But again, like that being said, everything we need, we've got toilet, sink, bathtub, and shower. We can do this. We can do this, right? Okay, now back to the living room. This is where I just sit here and I have my feet up, and it feels so good. And I have been able to identify the things in my life that I truly need, like being able to put my feet up. And I need that because it gives me a sense of true relaxation and ability to be calm and find peace. And ultimately, that's what I want, is the peace. And I have decided that I can find that no matter where I am, because I can create whatever it is that I want and need in any situation. And that's the type of resiliency that creates the ability to be able to get through anything in your life that is thrown at you unexpectedly. And what I will promise is every single person in the entire world will have those experiences over and over. And I feel like that's what truly determines who you're going to be, is those experiences either truly make you or break you. And anybody that's had an experience like that, where it feels like it just breaks you and your life is never the same and you never recover, I completely understand and know that those reactions are justified. And just because you go through something hard and don't find the resiliency and it feels like it breaks you forever, there is truth in that. And to the degree that I've experienced the loss and the trauma in my own life, I feel like there's many times where I choose that allowing it to break me and feeling like I'll never recover, and just being in that extremely depressive state of, you know, telling myself nothing's ever going to work for me. It feels so true. And yet, when those times come, I allow it for myself. And for a long time, I wallowed in it. And then I just realized I've got 4 kids and they can't lose their mom too. And I just decided that's not going to be what happens. And so as hard as it was for me, in those moments, I finally was able to pull myself out. And again, I understand not everybody's able to do that. And that response to grief and loss and trauma is also okay. It really, truly is. Because not everybody wants to find a new, happier life after loss. And that's also okay. But the question to ask yourself is, what is it that I really want? What is the life that I really want? And many people find really living in grief and allowing it to break them is what they want. And that sounds really strange to say and to hear, because most of us from the outside looking in on a situation like that would say, well, it would have been better if that never would have happened. And that's simply not true. Or you might say, in judgment of someone going through grief and feeling like, you know, what happened to them, they're never going to recover from, and they might believe that. But the truth is, whatever your response or reaction is to trauma and grief and loss in your life is exactly what you need. And the more you can embrace and accept where you're at, the more eventually you'll be able to find a way to live with it in a way that makes you a better person, truly. And that's also been something that's been really hard for me to accept, is that I can be a broken person for the rest of my life and always miss my husband and always be depressed that he died and wish with every fiber of my being that that had never happened. I can do all that. And it's really okay to feel that way. And if I want to just wallow in that for the rest of my life, I can do that, and it's totally justified. And because these experiences can only change you as a person, it's easy to say the person that you are after that is not the person you were before. And that better be true, because you can never be the same person after going through grief. But if someone says, you know, you're a worse person than you were before this happened, or you're a depressed person now, or, you know, any of those things that seem negative, all I can say is it's part of the process, and you can't judge anyone for what they turn to for comfort, whether it's alcohol or drugs or sex or, you know, exercise or renovating a house or whatever it is that gets you through, that brings you comfort, whether it's perceived as productive or self-destructive. I just feel like having compassion and love for whatever way a person chooses to go through grief is the highest form of love and respect. The ultimate form of love is to love and support someone. And if they are choosing self-destructive ways of doing that, the most loving thing that you can do is continue to be there for them, not support the behaviors, but support the person. And that advice can take so many different forms for so many different people. But the one thing I would say to support someone through grief, no matter how it is that they're dealing with it, whether it's deemed productive or self-destructive, is to love and support them through it. And how that looks for an individual that, you know, I've had a lot of people ask me, how do I support this friend? They just lost their husband, or they just lost their child, or any myriad of situations. Is, I will say this: you'll get an idea of something to do for them and you'll feel, oh, I should do that. And then I find a lot of people will say, oh, but I don't want to bug them, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that. And they inherently go against what that feeling is telling them. And what I can say is, whatever that feeling is, whatever it says to do for that person, that is exactly what they need. And if you have the courage to follow that little prompting that you get within yourself around, you know, what should I do? Just go do that. You don't have to think of anything crazy to do. Just if you ask yourself, what should I do? Whatever the first thought is that comes, it's like, bring them a box of cereal and milk. You know, like something really silly and seemingly stupid, but like, if you follow through on that, you'll find that when you get to their house and you're like, hey, I just had this idea to bring you cereal and milk. I know it's weird, but I just wanted to give this to you. 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, wow, how did you know? But a lot of people will be like, oh my gosh, if I brought cereal and milk, that would seem so silly. Why would I do that? But I promise that if you just follow whatever it is that you feel like you should do, that's what's going to truly make a difference. And this is why, because it's coming from your heart. It's not you trying to be like, oh, I should cook them a whole big meal, or I should do this, or I should do that. It's just do what feels right in the moment, the first idea that comes to your head, and just follow through on it, because that is what's going to make the biggest difference in somebody that needs your support, who's going through grief, especially if you don't understand what they're going through. Follow the silly ideas that you get, and that is the truest form of giving support to someone, is you taking a stand to follow your own heart to support someone else, not feeling like, oh, I have to find the perfect thing, or I have to be a psychologist and I have to be able to talk to them in a certain way as I'm looking at my pants and like, see, again, like my ADHD, I'm like, oh, there's little things on my pants, like now that's gonna bug the crap out of me because I've been wearing these pajamas for 2 days now. But yeah, just really giving from the heart. And you know, maybe it's just ringing the doorbell and being like, I just wanted to check on you and see how you're doing, because you can't be doing great. And I just want you to know I'm thinking about you, you know. And sending a text is okay. But, you know, I got a lot of texts, I'm thinking of you, I'm thinking of you. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's nice. But that causes me to be distracted from my kids, look at my screen. And it's just really not actually that supportive. I'm not saying sending a text is a bad idea. But following through with physically being there for somebody, and for me, I didn't want to be around people at all. I just did not want that. I'm a very solitary processor, and so I wanted to be alone a lot. But if somebody took the time to come over, I actually found it was still very helpful to process things. So anyway, I didn't mean to get off on a tangent at my new property about that, but you know, when it comes up, it comes up. So next thing, let's go to the kitchen. Okay, so the fridge I had to move. When I bought this house, the fridge was right here and it just felt like it was just exuding out of the wall, taking up all the room. So I moved it over here. It makes the kitchen feel way more open because I'm gonna put a little table here. It's just gonna be like a round little half table. And I love the idea of just like sitting here and looking out the window and drinking my coffee in the morning and just feeling at peace with this perfect little space. And I actually like this side better. So this would be my spot, because once I have a spot, I always have to stay in the same spot. I just love being able to look out at the trees, and you know, this yard needs a lot of work, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna make it beautiful, and I'm gonna share with you the progress as I make it, because I have found that one of the things I'm really good at is making things beautiful. And beauty is something that sets my heart on fire and makes me feel passionate, and that I'm living my best life through the gifts that I have. And that's one of the things that I've discovered through the process of losing my husband, is how good I am at taking things that do not look beautiful and are broken and seemingly completely undesirable and transforming them into something beautiful, which is what I feel like I've done with myself and my life since losing my husband. So this is all part of my process, just accepting reality, because, you know, when you have that urge to fart and you think it's just a fart and then it's not, and it's shocking and it's a horrible outcome, you have to run to the bathroom and clean it up so you don't stink. And that's all I have to say. Thanks for joining me.